Well, welcome. I'm glad to see all of you here, and I'm glad you could be with us tonight. We're going to talk about ramping up rotations. Rotations are um, really a special part of VBS, and they're usually crafts, recreation, missions, music, snacks, and some churches even have Bible study as a rotation. And that works into their entire program for the day or the evening, how it works. And then some of them may not. For instance, in our church, we do not do a music rotation, but we do missions and crafts and recreation and snacks. But we like to have a full Bible study time, so we do not have a Bible study rotation. Ours lays the way it is, and we just drop the music because we put it in other places. So there are some, if you are a rotation leader or you are a director, there are some important things you need to remember as a rotation leader. So, number one, if you are one, welcome. You are a crucial and critical part of the team. Your role is critical and important because you are one of the links that holds that whole experience together, and you're needed, you are wanted, and you're respected for the gifts that you bring to that role. So, how do we do this? So, the first thing we need to do is we need to start off with prayer. And I would urge you to resist the urge to separate your rotation from the spiritual parts of VBS. Even when you're recruiting leaders and setting expectations for that, because every rotation can be a vital link to give cohesiveness to the VBS. It doesn't sit aside apart from the Bible study portion. It can be connected to it. So when you're leading up to VBS, you want to strategically pray for every aspect of your rotation and that the kids in your groups will be ready to hear the gospel. Pray as you recruit others to serve with you. Pray as you plan and prepare. And then pray with the kids during your rotation. If God allows that to happen and you have that opportunity to do that, do pray with them. But, we have to make that foundation of prayer so important. And so that's what you want to get started with. Second of all, you want to prepare your heart. So, how you're going to do this? Well, you can review the different daily Bible lessons that are going to be presented to the students throughout the VBS time. You can um, look at the devotionals that Lifeway has provided for the leaders in the VBS, and you will get an insight into what's going to happen during that day and be able to walk away with an application for yourself. And you could spend time in prayer, but prepare your heart. When I say looking at the daily Bible lessons that are going to be taught during VBS, know them for yourself. Get the references of what's going to be taught, go into your Bible, study them just as well, so that you know those Bible accounts very, very well, and that you can reinforce this later as you're in your rotation. Thirdly, you need to plan. You need to confirm the details of your rotation. What ages are you going to have? what's your time frame, all those little particulars. Select the particulars that you need and plan on how to gather your supplies, whether it's purchasing or collecting. And some people start the day VBS ends one year, then they collect all year to get it. My decoration volunteer, her entire house looks like a supply store for VBS for the next year. And she's got it all together. And I won't see any of it until she brings it to church, and then we can put it all together. So you want to really plan and plan, try to almost over plan for your rotation. Because what happens if you don't plan enough? That chaos seems to reign, and then you lose the focus of what that rotation was going to be like. So even over plan so that um, you can get everything you need. You know what you're going to be doing. You know who you're going to be working with, not only in your volunteers, but with the children itself. And you'll be more ready to do that particular rotation, whatever that is. Next, we need to teach. And by learning those biblical truths for yourself, you can build relationships with the children while you lead that rotation. So perhaps you're in crafts and you can utilize moments of the transition, where they're going from one place to another place, to ask review questions from the daily Bible content. See how much they're listening to, that the students are absolutely being a sponge with, and they're taking in and they understand. Prompt the kids to recite Romans 12 too, since that's the Bible verse this year, so that they know it and that they can recite it to you. Use the motto as a call and a response. You could do this to get their attention, to kind of get all the chaos down to a minimum, and you have more focus on you as the instructor in that rotation. Plan for opportunities to talk about the gospel. So if you're going to be doing a particular project, you can talk about that Bible lesson that day, and perhaps talk about the different parts of the gospel. Put it right into that presentation. You're not teaching the lesson again. You are reinforcing the points, the main points of the Bible lesson and the gospel points that are there. You do not have to go into a 20-minute, this is the gospel. The gospel points can be shared very quickly and within just a few moments. And by interacting with the students, you can see where they're at spiritually. Let me tell you, one year I had a child in my upper elementary class, and that particular year, during the last day of VBS, we had a 3-city-wide power outage. And we went from having lights to no lights. And one of the elders brought his truck with an inverter and plugged in the inverter into his truck and ran an electric line downstairs to the basement where we had the crafts and snack set up. And he put a light on the top of a ladder, and that's what illuminated the craft area. And from that, as we were putting the crafts together, I was talking with one of the children in my Bible lesson, and the opportunity presented itself to present the gospel, and I did so. And she accepted the Lord right there during snack in the dark, during VBS. It was very exciting at that time. So always use the opportunities that God gives you to talk about the gospel. When you're in a VBS, if it works, not all of them do, but in your VBS, you could play in your rotation, you could play music, the VBS music, to reinforce what the kids are learning. So if you're doing day 4s or day 2s Bible lesson, you can play the music for day 2 or day 4, whatever. Or you can play the theme song. That's good too. But that way, it's reinforcing what the children are learning. You want to share your own testimony when it's appropriate and in an appropriate way. And you only want to do it when God provides that divine opportunity, and you will know when the Spirit prompts you and says, you need to talk with this person, you need to talk with this child. So, as you are prompted, share your own testimony. Again, it doesn't have to be long, it can be very quick, just a few minutes, and so that the child understands a little more of what becoming a Christian is like, what the walk of a Christian is like. You want to pray with the kids during your rotation. Even in rotation of recreation, my VBS volunteer for recreation, she does just that. So they bound out of the church into the churchyard for recreation, and she does recreation with them, wears them out, and as they come back just before we're ready to change, she makes sure that she prays with these kids before they move on to the next rotation. And I want to kind of summarize all this under this one point of teaching. You want to be enthusiastic. That is so important in VBS, is to be excited and just bubbly, have a good time with it. Because, if you are going someplace to go do something and somebody talks in one monotone voice and is just not really excited about, I'm glad you're here, now we're going to go here and now we're going to go do this, and where's the excitement? Are you going to come back the next day? Are you going to want to go to the next rotation? If I was a student, I can tell you I wouldn't want to go unless somebody made me. But your students are like that. So just be enthusiastic, be excited for what's going on. Because the more excited you are, and I got to tell you, the more excited you are, the more you are a fool for Christ, more to say. And people see that you love fun and you love having fun and being happy and joyful and showing just an excited attitude. They're drawn to you. And so you want to be as enthusiastic as possible. Okay, so let's move on to the next point. You want to keep a smooth flow going. So wherever you are, whatever rotation you are in, you want to make sure that you have rules and you keep them simple and short. And remember that the purpose the kids have come to your station, and plan to get them involved right away, because your rotation is not going to be long. So you want to make the most of every minute you have. So just as soon as they come in, get them involved in doing whatever you're doing. Be discreet and gentle when correcting behavior. I make sure that I have people in the room that can just come alongside a student and say, you don't need to do that. We can do it this way. We need you to sit down, or we need you to do this. And be just as gentle with them as you can, but firm, and to correct behavior. Make sure that you let your volunteers that are working with you know how to just come alongside a child and kind of be with them, that it would can control the behavior in that area where you are. But you want to be positive, you want to encourage, you want to affirm, and you want to congratulate the kids each and every step of the way. And it doesn't matter what it is. And the more you do it, the more they want to do more. So you want to make sure that you are a very positive force uh, in each rotation, whatever rotation it is. Finally, under this point, I want to tell you to stay focused on the kids. It's really easy to get distracted. And this is why when we were up in planning, I told you plan ahead. And this is why, because you want to minimize your distractions in your rotation. And I think I've done every rotation there is in my own church, with the exception of crafts, because I am craft challenged, believe it or not. But I will give it the college try if I have to. Um, but it's easy to get distracted if you don't know what you're doing, or you haven't planned enough games, or perhaps the snacks didn't work and you need a backup plan. This is where that planning comes in, because it will help you to minimize all the distractions. And once you lose the focus of the students to what you're doing, chaos will run amok. I can guarantee you that. So you must almost overly plan. What is plan A? If plan A goes bad, okay, let's go to plan B. What's plan B? Okay, if that has a problem, let's go to plan C. So you always want to make sure you plan as much as you can so that you always have something to fall back on. Have I run through the alphabet? Yeah, I have a couple times. But the more I do it, the more I realize that planning is critical and crucial in order to keep the distractions that are in that particular rotation or classroom down, and that the activity for that rotation gets done, the Bible study, Bible lesson gets done, and everything gets accomplished for that day of VBS. So make sure you have a smooth flow, that everything's going to go from one thing to another. And when you have a challenge, you've got people to help you to surround the challenge and calm it down, make sure you go on to the next thing. Lastly, I want to talk about continuing the connection. Look for ways to stay connected with the kids you've taught. Now, I know it's important that we do that for the Bible study teachers, to make a connection with the children or their students, however, what age they are, because they were the ones that they worked with, and they would probably work with if they came back and started attending your church, started attending Sunday school or Wednesday night services, or whatever event that you have for the children throughout the year. That if you're a Bible study teacher, your face will probably be the one that they will remember. But that's not to say that the rotation leaders that are there for recreation or crafts or music or missions or snacks, that they won't remember you. They will, but you really need to look for ways to stay connected. Um, if you're in a small community, there may be a lot of points of common ground that you can continue that connection. They may be into a school that your kids go to school or your grandkids go to school. There's a lot of different ways to make connections. So look for those ways to stay connected with the kids that you taught then. And not only look for ways, but continue follow through with that so that you are making the connections with them and they will remember you throughout the year. Then you want to be intentional about building relationships with the kids and their families. Do not just make a relationship with the students that you're teaching or you're playing with in the recreation, or you're creating a masterpiece in crafts or whatever. Be intentional about not just making the connection and the relationship with the adults, with the kids, but also their parents. Okay. Make sure you invite them back. I know that uh, we've talked in follow up about making sure that uh, the follow up team tries to make sure those connections go in with the children and their families and invite them back to events throughout the year that's happening at your church. But make sure that you do it too, because they don't, think about when you want to join something. You don't want to just have one connection. You want to have a lot of different connections and say, oh, this is a really great place to be. A lot of people, they're friendly and they come up and they say hello and they want to know all about me and they want to get me into something. This is really great. I want to come back. And that doesn't just happen with one person on the follow up team. That happens with you guys too from the rotations that you're doing. Make the connection. Tell them that Johnny had a great day playing ball with you guys in the recreation, or that Susan made a fantastic creation down in crafts, or Bobby was making this interesting snack with the ingredients that we provided with them today in the snack. So make that connection with the parents, um, and so that they see that you are a warm and welcoming church and it all works together. We are the body. It's just not the hand or the foot or the eye or the ear. We're all together. So rotations work the same way. Is we have to make those connections so that people feel welcome in our church. Okay, so what kind of questions can I answer for you that you have concerning rotations? Put them in the chat box.
Yes, definitely put them in the chat box. All right, I got a question. Anybody that was on our webinar on Tuesday, one of the points that one of the other leaders made, which I think is very applicable to what Melva's talked about, is she talked about that we needed to be enthusiastic. So, and she said there was a certain person that shouldn't be a VBS leader. Do you remember what it was? If it is, put it in the chat. And if you get it, I'm going to send you an extra prize, because I think that you are right, Melva. We need to make sure that we are definitely enthusiastic. And I don't know about you, but there are a lot of people a lot of people. Okay, who got it? The grumpy. Who said that? Who said that?
Ashley.
Ashley
and Renee and Linda.
Okay, you got it, Ashley. You're gonna get something for that. I'm gonna send you a prize for remembering the grumpy person. We don't need that. Good. I'll send you guys something. I'll look to see what other prizes you won. I'll send you something different. Yeah, we need to make sure that we're enthusiastic. And I know a lot of times as VBS leaders, we are exhausted by the time we get there, especially if our VBSs are at night. So, just pump yourself up. during the week to be very enthusiastic. And one of the things I think you'd agree with, because Melva, you made a good point about being prepared. And if we're prepared in our classes, we can get out there and be visible to do what you said at the very end, to make connections. And so you can make connections right there at the sign up table. You know, when kids come in and register, pick up their badges or whatever, it's another great opportunity to, you know, make that connection. So Ashley says she appreciates the prompt to recall the memory verse and maybe some trivia about the lessons. So that's a really good thing to do.
And that only happens if you know the lesson itself.
That's
so that
right.
means digging in your Bible and finding out what that lesson is all about.
Right.
Yes.
And one of the things I used to do, and I'm also crafts challenge, Melva, by the way, but I have to say I have done crafts, and there was always a fear for me that if I didn't get the crafts ready, you know, if I had the crafts ready and it was went too quick, what am I going to do with these kids? So the first year I did crafts, somebody said something, make sure you have something as a backup. And so I made word searches that had to do with the Bible verses for the day, and they had to find the word search, and then they took the words that they found, and on the piece of paper they, you know, built the words out there. So you know, find ways to connect. You're right, Melva. Learn the lessons so that you can make sure that it's reinforced in whatever rotation you're at. So
absolutely.
So I appreciate that. All right, let's see if we have any more. All right, Vermont's got 5 there at Precision Valley. Awesome. That's great.
All right.
Yeah, you're doing good, Ashley. The other night I think they had 7 there or something like that. They had a picture for us. So yeah.
Good.
All right. And so let me I was going to ask about transitions. So you mentioned transitions, Melva. So when you go from a room to room as the rotation leaders, there needs to be some type of coordination, wouldn't you say?
Oh, I would say so. They have to know where they're going, and then make sure that the class goes as a unit in there. And sometimes that means taking the most outgoing student that could be a discipline problem and having them lead, but that rotation leader can make a connection and go over the lesson and go over the memory verse, so that they're not thinking about getting into trouble going from one room to a next room. They're actually answering a question because they're being engaged that way. But make those, or they can, you know, you can do it with a couple kids as you're moving from place to place. I had that when I did recreation one year, because our church is very small. Once they get out the door, I was able to do it outside, and I would do it between games. So this is what the question is for right now, and then we're going to play a game, and then I'll have another question, and then we'll play another game if the time allows.
Yeah, and be prepared for having to wait. You know, if your church, you know, has you have you know, 4 or 5 minutes to get to a place, you get there in 2 minutes, you got 3 minutes to wait with these kids. 3 minutes is a long time. So think about a game or some type of something you can do while you're waiting outside of a classroom before you can get in there. That would be a great way to do your memory verse or do your trivia questions or something like that. So definitely be prepared for that. One of the things I like to do is when my kids come into the classroom, and I got this on Facebook years ago, but you know, have some greetings, you know, let them do the high five, you know, let them do a, you know, you could do a twirl around or something like that. Maybe have something, a sign on the door, let them choose with the greeting that they want to be, or something like that. Because again, it's fun. It's okay to be silly, right? At Vacation Bible School. Do we have your permission, Melva?
Absolutely. I think that would be
Okay.
great.
Yeah. So think about those things when you're thinking about it, and as Melva said, be intentional. And again, I liked what you said at the very beginning, Melva. There, you are a critical part of the whole Vacation Bible School. You keep it together. You really keep it together.
Absolutely.
I think that Bible study is important, and I underscore the fact I'm saddened almost when they make the Bible study of a rotation, because they've cut it down from the 30 minutes to 15-minute little increment. And if they do that, I hope they do Bible study twice in the rotation. And some have done that, actually added Bible study as a second rotation. You do one rotation to get the story, and then they do add another rotation for the Bible study, that is the activity and also an application. And so, so if you're thinking about making Bible study a rotation, maybe thinking about doubling up on the Bible study, so you make sure you get that piece in double, because I think that's important. So anyway, but remember that you, as the rotation leader, you're critical to the team at Vacation Bible School.
Mhm.
Absolutely.